All right. Welcome to the Unstoppable Entrepreneur podcast. I got on Mike Miller. He's definitely an unstoppable entrepreneur. He has done, I don't want to mess this up, 15 million, buying 15 million in real estate in just a couple of years. I think I've known you for about a couple of years. So you did all that in that. I know you're a house flipper. You are a contractor, like you build stuff. That's that's already too much right there. I've seen you raise money, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. I see you got a podcast. I see you have a community that engages on TikTok. I see you on with famous in our industry, in the real estate industry. You're hanging out with them, doing podcasts with them. So man, I'm happy to like catch up with you, man. It looks like you're crushing it.
Oh man, I appreciate it. I'm stoked too, man. I don't know if you know this or not, but you were technically my first coach in the game. So, you were my first real estate coach. I was just getting started just a couple of years ago, and so a lot has happened since then. But you're part of my origin story forever.
Oh, let's go. Yeah, I was his accountability coach, and man, it's yeah, you remember you coming in, you're on fire, showing up to every meeting, and it was awesome.
Yeah, and then I got too busy. That's the problem with this game, right? Then it's like that when you actually really need to be showing up, you run out of time to show up. So that's how it goes. But bro, I'm stoked to be here.
Awesome, dude. All right, so is there anything you want to say about yourself that I didn't cover? Did I intro you pretty good or what?
No, man, it's awesome. I mean, it's yeah, we got our hands on a lot of stuff. We've got our own community. I think the only shout out I'll give is just to the Dead Presidents Club. We've got a private Facebook group. We do training and teaching and coaching. I mean, it's real estate centric, but really for us, it's like we want to help people figure out how to do money different and build wealth for generations. And so we've got a free community that you can plug into Facebook group, and yeah, that's a big part of our give back. But yeah, you're spot on, man. I'm really a buy and holder who became a flipper because I realized that you can't make unlimited money unless you do something for that income. So I started flipping after buying a bunch of real estate. But yeah, we do development ground up. We do all sorts of different things. And it's just been, I've been an investor since 2007. I bought my first deal in 2007, lost my shorts on it. It was a great story. But as like a strategic, like this is my thing, it's really only been 2 years. And that's where like I got connected with you and that crew over there. That's helped me really, pour gasoline on what I wanted to do. And since then, yeah, we bought 15 million and all in single and small multifamily and no syndications. So we own our portfolio. So it's, I think it's one thing these guys, I'm around all these syndicators now and they're like, I got $100 million portfolio. And it's like, but you own 5% of it. So that's cool. That's really amazing. But it's not, our method's just a little bit different. So that's kind of how we've been building, and that's how we're gonna hopefully continue to build.
Okay, awesome, man. So you said you've been an entrepreneur. Have you been an entrepreneur since 2007? Is that how long you've been
Well,
an entrepreneur
no, I
for?
came up. So my background is banking. I was a VP for Bank of America for the majority of my adult life.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I come from a corporate America background. I do
Wow.
my story's a little wild, a little random. I grew up in corporate America, started with the bank when I was 18. Had a ton of favor, did really, really well, grew through the ranks, took 4 years off and did full-time ministry. We lived in Mexico for a little bit, doing orphan care. We planted a church, and I traveled the country speaking and leading worship at churches. And then realized,
No
yeah, bro, I
idea.
know it's so random, right? And realized towards the end of that journey that like I was way more effective in the things that I was passionate about by being an income earner. Like, we were running the nonprofit and doing the church world thing, I love that stuff, but it doesn't pay the bills the way that this does. And
Hmm.
I'm so much more impactful in the things that I have passion for by being able to be a funding mechanism for those things. And so I went back to Bank of America, did that for a few more years. And then I woke up one morning and I'm not the tip. I think a lot of guys tell their story. In real estate world, it's like I wanted to get out of my 9 to 5. I wanted to get out
Yep.
of the grind. I
Yeah.
loved my job. Like I
Oh,
loved my
wow.
career. I love the people I worked with. Like I still wake up sometimes missing it. I really loved it. But I remember where I was sitting in a little breakfast nook in our house, and I woke up one morning and I realized like no matter how much money I make here, I'm still trading my time for it, and I'm still building something I can't give to my kids. And 6 months later, you and I met, and I was out of the bank and full time in real estate, and that's how it happened.
That's so you started like literally like you started flipping and building like then? That's when you started that?
Yeah, literally, I think I had bought. Yeah, I had bought a couple of pieces of property that I planned to develop because I had purchased a construction company already. So I had a little bit of that going on. And I bought a bunch of dirt thinking that I'd leave the bank and I'd start developing ground up. Then COVID hit and all the construction costs went through the roof. And now
Oh
I've
my
got all this
gosh.
dirt that I couldn't build on. And that's when I was like, well, shoot, I got to figure out what I'm doing. And that's when I joined the program and was like, I just got to get around people that like I know real estate, but I didn't know real estate as an investor.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. All right. So before I dig in, let me just do a little vanity stuff. So you've been an entrepreneur, I don't know how long, it's been a long time, but so what's the most amount of money you've made in a year?
Well, our top line revenue is over 10 million. So we do eight figures between all of the businesses. In a single year, it's hard, man. In our world, it's like I should know the answer to this, but in our world, it's like I try to on paper not make any money. And so like how much money do I actually made taken home? Probably $1 million in a year. Like take home, but we reinvest a ton. So like it's not a straight number. Like it's not like I put $1 million in the bank and I'm chilling. Like I go out and buy assets. And I would say honestly, the most amount of money I made was probably last year. We added $3 million to our net worth last year in a single year.
So yeah, the balancing act of a real estate investor, like you got that $1 million she's talking about. We could earn $1 million, but the first thing we want to do is get rid of it so it can
Yep.
make us more money. So now you gotta like, okay, how much do I need to live on?
Yep.
And where can I go put it in another project, another flip? And you can catch a flipper broke.
Oh, bro,
They got money, but they're broke because it's all in, you
yeah,
know?
we're all broke millionaires, man. All of us. I'll tell you what, man. So I call it the BAM line, the bare ass minimum. Like that's my goal. I don't worry about how much money I make in a year. I worry about making sure my bare ass minimum is covered because
Yeah, yeah.
everything else goes into the portfolio. And so, like for me, that number's about 250 grand. Like I can take care of my family really comfortably, the lifestyle we want to live on 250 grand, and I dump everything back into the business. So like from a balance, like from an asset sheet, like we look really good. But from like cash in the bank, we only ever have a couple $100,000. It's not, it's not, which sounds like a lot of money, but in real estate land, you know how fast that goes. So, I'm not the the Rolls Royce Bentley like Lambo guy who's like trying to stack cat. Like my vanity number is doors. My vanity number is portfolio. My vanity number is in 30 years when my kids look at my portfolio, they say dad was really, really good with money.
And what do you want? Like, what is there? I know there's no time. Let's put no time limit on it. But like, do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have what's your goal for doors or income or whatever that is?
Yeah. So our Vivid, if you guys haven't done, if you've never done Vivid Vision, have you done Vivid Vision?
It sounds familiar. Should I look it up real
Dude,
quick?
check
What
it
is that?
out. Yeah, check it out. It's such a good exercise for, especially if you're running companies. But vivid vision is basically the process of like telling what your business environment is going to look like, sound like, feel like, what's the finances look like in 3 years. And so our vivid vision for 3 years is that we're going to move to 300 U properties. Now remember, we don't do like syndications or apartment buildings. This is all single family and small
Just you.
multifamily, just us. So 300 and a $60 million portfolio, assets under management is the 3 year vision. And so where that goes from there, man, like, yeah, I'd love to have $1 billion portfolio, but I've been really challenged lately by these guys that are like, I want 1,000 doors or I want 10,000 doors. I've been challenged by a lot of these guys lately to go like, why do we want those? Like, is because if you would have asked me that question 6 months ago, I would have told you 1,000 doors. Like that would have been my answer. And I literally got asked by a guy named Brandon Turner, why do you want 1,000 doors? And I was like, well, because that's the benchmark, man. Like that's the next step. And he's like, yeah, cool, but like, is it a vanity number? Is it an income number? Is it a port? Like, why do you want it? And it like honestly, it sounds so simple, but I was like, I guess I don't know. Like, I guess I just thought that like that was the number. And then I
Yeah.
realized, and he goes, dude, if you syndicate, like you could have 1,000 doors next year. But like, would you rather have a 20% ownership of 1,000 doors or 100% ownership of 200? Like the numbers are the same. Like you just have to decide what you want to do. And it was honestly transformational for me because I assumed that the next step for me would be bigger assets, apartment buildings, all those things, and syndication and fundraising. And realistically, I look at what we're doing and it's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So we've changed our entire vision to go, I don't care to have 15,000 doors. Like, I don't need that. I'd be super stoked at the end of my career if I grew to 1,000 or 15, whatever the number is, to get to a portfolio that we own 100% of, or 90% of if we have to give up some equity, but that we own it, we control it, and ultimately I have something tangible I can give to my kids.
I gotta say something, man. This is it's weighing on it's weighing on me to talk because what's happening here? You probably don't know this, but like, so my you're being blown away by these guys who have like massive amounts of 1,000 doors. Brandon Turner, if you know who Brandon Turner is, he's like the godfather in my book of real estate. He helped so many people get started in real estate with this community called Bigger Pockets. It's huge for us, and I don't think he's not there anymore, but he got me into real estate. He got you into real estate, probably. He got so many people into real estate. So to be in this mastermind is awesome. But like, so for me, let me just talk about for me. First of all, I have never made $1 million in a year. So I'm curious for you, like, what's it like? Like, have you ever been broke before? And second question, what's it like making $1 million in a year? Are you just like, ah?
Yeah, bro. I mean, it's a good question. Like, first of all, it's weird in this world because it's you guys, I mean, we all understand, and if you're new to the game, you'll figure this out quickly. That like that well, first of all, money is a glitch, man. Like money's not real. Like that's the thing. Real estate, I
What
thought
do you
I
mean?
understood. What's that?
What do you mean it's a glitch? Like it's
To
not
like
real?
I thought I understood this. I'm a banker, bro. Like I'm a, almost 2 decades banker. I thought I understood how this thing worked. It's when I got into this game that I started to realize like none of it is real. And what I mean by that is like all the dollars are created through debt. They're not like you don't like money is not designed to be earned, it's designed to be created. And the way that we create it is by leveraging through debt assets that benefit from the system that is built for us. And currently, whether you like it or not, the system is built on something called inflation. And the reality is that real like I love, and this is totally off topic of what we're talking about, but I love inflation. You should love inflation. I'm sure you do. Why? Because hard assets benefit from inflation. So I've changed my entire mindset to go, this to me is not about how much money I can earn. Like so you asked the question, like, what was it like to earn $1 million? It was weird because I didn't earn it. I created it. And the way that I created it was by learning how to play the game and learning how to leverage other people's money against certain types of assets to create a new delta of opportunity called income. And for me, like that's how it happened. Is like I literally like I was like you. I'm just buying, I'm flipping, I'm adding value, I'm trying to figure it out. And as I was doing it, I realized like think let me break it down. Let me make it really simple. When you put $1 into the bank, do you know what they do with it? When you deposit a cash dollar into the bank, you know what happens.
They use
The,
it to make
do you know what
money.
the first thing that happens though is?
What?
They digitize it. it immediately goes into the matrix. It immediately becomes digital currency, and it immediately goes to the hopper where they're lending it out, not
Yeah.
$1, but $10. It's called fractional banking, right? It's
Yeah. Yeah.
fractional banking system.
Federal Reserve stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's exactly. And the system, whether you agree with it or not, is not what we're talking about. We're just talking about learning to play by the rules as they exist. The system has built a matrix. And if the bank, and by the way, the one of the most expensive things that a bank holds on to is cash. Banks try to get rid of paper dollars as quickly as possible, which is the game we all play, right? We're trying to get rid of our cash as quickly as possible. So
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
put $1 in the bank and the bank isn't saving my money, then why am I? Like, why are we being taught to save our dollars? Why are we being taught to hold on to what's there? We have to learn how to play the game according to the people who created it. And so for me, like that's what I mean when I go money's a glitch. It's not it only a dollar only has value because we say it does. But understanding how assets interact with leverage that interact with things like inflation and macroeconomics, that's what makes real estate so interesting to me. And I'm a little bit in nerd land at the moment. I realize that because I'm like bank.
Not to me, I'm with you.
Yeah.
But to the viewers, maybe
Yeah.
probably
And like,
tuned
and
out, but I'm
so,
like with you.
but to me, I go like, so if you're just starting out in real estate, like one of the most important things to understand, because people are so afraid of debt, the most important thing to understand is when I borrow money, I create new money. Like that's money that didn't exist before. That's the point. So you asked me what it's like to make $1 million. Well, it's I don't know because I don't feel like I didn't trade my time. Like I couldn't tell you what hours I put in that equaled $1 million. I can tell you the activities that I
Yeah.
did equaled opportunities that created money that didn't exist in my ecosystem before. And so the challenge with that though is that we grew up and we were taught to earn our money. And
Yeah.
so we expect to have this experience with our money because we have something we traded for it.
Yeah.
And that's not been the experience for me at all. So
Yeah.
the short answer to a long to a, the short bullet on a long answer is that it really didn't feel like much at all. It just felt like it went back into the matrix. And now I'm like seeing it so differently. And yes, I've been broke. Like I've not been broke in the sense of like,
On the
like I can't put food on my table. But like I've been more broke by cultural definitions as a real estate investor than I've ever been in my life. But I'm wealthier in today than I've ever been in my life. I was a mid six-figure income earner, and I have more wealth today than I ever did.
Okay, awesome. Okay, wow. That was
It's a
sick.
lot. Sorry, man. You got me excited about something. I don't know.
And I guess the second, what was I forget, I almost forget my second question. I think it was so how did it feel to be a millionaire? Oh yeah, you've been broke. You've been broke. You didn't come, you come from money? Did you learn, were you taught this stuff like
No.
any wealth secrets growing up from entrepreneurial parents, or did you have to figure this out on your own?
I mean, so the short story is that I was out on my own when I was 16, and so I had to figure this out really young. And I'm super grateful for a lot of people hear my story and they're like, wow, that's so sad. Because it is. There's a lot of it that is sad. My parents split up, you know, all of the, all the sob story. But the truth is like survival taught me how to win. Survival taught me how to be okay. Now the reason why I say like I've never been broke in the sense of like I didn't grow up poor. I've never been on government support. I've never had those experiences. And so I don't think I can really say that I've been broke because out the gate I became a high income earner. I mean, I was making almost 100 grand when I was 16 because I figured out very quickly that I was good at sales, and sales was a high paying opportunity for me. So I
So you got
literally
a sales
started,
job at
yeah, I
16 and
started
made a
selling
hundred grand? Where? Cars?
cars, car, no, car, it's a company called Car Toys. I don't know if you guys have them in Nevada. They don't have them in Cali, but it's
Car toys.
up in Washington. It's like a Radio Shack. So they had like car stereos and like cell phone kiosks type thing. And bro, I just crushed it. I was top of the country sales for, the couple of years that I worked there. And yeah, I think I made close to 100 grand my first year in sales.
And working
Um,
at Radio Shack.
Working at a version of Radio Shack. And
What?
yeah, dude, it was,
Wow.
and so from a young age, but here's the crazy part. I made all this money and I had nothing ever to show for it.
Because you
I was
spent it.
always broke. Yeah, and I can't tell you what I spent it on. That's the crazy part. I mean, I can in hindsight, but like I was always broke. I'd get $10,000 commission checks at 16, 17 years old, and I'd be like struggling for change to get a McMuffin on my way to work before payday. Like it was to answer your question, like no, nobody ever taught me money principles. Now, I did grow up in a house with an entrepreneur dad, but frankly, he was crooked at best. And I learned a lot of bad habits, not because they taught them to me, but because I caught them from the environment.
Was he
We
like
had
taking advantage of people or something?
we don't fully know, to be honest, but we just know that we grew up with stuff. Like we had the boats and the cars and the houses, but the audio and the video never lined up. And so, I mean, we know that there was probably some tax evasion stuff. Well, actually, we know that for sure because I think the IRS seized our house at one point. Like crazy stuff like that. So I grew up in an environment that had the illusion of wealth, but was never real. It was never real. And how that was propped up and where that money truly came from, I think is a question for all of us.
Gotcha, gotcha. You said something I thought would be valuable for people. You said something like, so would you recommend if there's someone young out there that wants to start learning how to make money? You made 100 grand probably years ago. I'm
Mhm.
sure you weren't 16, 10 years ago, right?
Yep.
So would you recommend one of the things you could do if you want to make money, you want to make a lot of money, you want to make six figures, is get into sales?
Oh yeah, I mean any sales is one of the highest paying skills in the in the world, I believe. Uh, but you have to be wired for it. Like, I don't necessarily like I think that there's an element of sales that can be taught, but like to really have that natural ability is a personality. And it's not the only area of employment where you can make six figures, but if you can sell something, it's very likely that you're going to be successful. And I don't, I'm not the like ditch your W-2, go all, which is ironic because I'm about to do a ditch your W-2 workshop, uh, I'm not the like leave your job and go all in on entrepreneurial land guy. Like I believe that like my job afforded me the ability to become an entrepreneur because I was successful in a W-2 and it gave me the bandwidth to be able to jump out of the boat and take a risk and make something happen. So I definitely think whether it's sales or it's, whatever it is, like I'm not at all like I encourage people to get a job because if your BAM line is covered, your capacity to do and generate money in other ways is far greater and far more healthy than if you're stressed out about how to pay your rent every month.
Yeah, I agree, man. When I first started, I had saved up 6 months. Well, I got fired from my job, but luckily I had about 6 months living expenses in the bank. So I like people that, they say, hey, work your 9 to 5, right? And then when you get home, work your 5 to 9 and
Yep.
build your own business on the side. So I agree with the whole, how are you gonna focus on building a business when you're stressed out about how to eat, pay your bills, pay your car? Like it's like they're gonna smell the desperation. I don't like it. I agree with the whole uh have a W-2 or have something going on and then start a business around it.
Yeah, and if you don't have a skill that's worthwhile enough to pay you to cover your bills, like then I go, yeah, go get creative. Like, this is what I love about Gary V's stuff is it's like, do you know how much money you can make on this thing? Like, like it
Yeah.
is like go flip something. Go, I mean, Ryan Pineda, we both come from that world. Like, got to start flipping couches.
Couches, yeah.
Like there is and again, it's another example of money's a glitch. There are infinite ways for you to make money. You just have to stop pretending like the system that taught you how to make money had your best interest in mind.
Man, that's so good. So what's the best financial advice you've ever gotten from a mentor that you respect?
Um, I don't know if it's the best or not, but it's the first one that comes to mind. And it was a guy named Eric who was a mentor of mine early in my career. He recognized that I was doing really well for my age, and I think he probably recognized that I was blowing my money on stupid stuff. And he said this to me, and I'll never forget it. He goes, "You'll never be able to out earn stupid." You'll never be able to out earn stupid. Like you've got to figure out how to and really what he was saying is you've got to figure out how to make your money work for you. Otherwise, you're going to be working for it for the rest of your life. The reason why I say I don't know if it's the best advice I've ever gotten is because I feel like I have out earned stupid a number of times in my life. So I feel like I've beat the advice in a little bit, but I think the principle is true. Like you got to make your money march for you. And so much of us are, so many people that I meet, young people especially, because they've never been taught to give their money a mission, they're working for it and they think that it's working for them by buying the stuff, going to the club, doing the thing. And I'm like,
Hmm.
it's learning how to take that money, delay a little bit of gratification, and put that money to work for you. That little discipline of pay me before I pay for my life, it is the thing that will transform your financial picture. And the easiest way it's ever been said to me is you'll never out earn stupid.
That's good. And then it reminds me of going back to a little bit when you were talking about your houses with Brandon Turner, your thousand. So like I'm over here. This is where I'm at, dude. So you're way ahead of me. What I'm focused on is getting 10 properties, whether it be houses or I got a buddy that's talking me into mobile homes. He's making a lot of sense, mobile home
Yeah.
parks, right? So I'm like, I, so it used to be like, yeah, 100 doors, 1,000 doors sounded like a goal, but then it was like, bro, what if you got 10 houses and you paid them off and you're getting 1,500 bucks a month from 10 houses? It's 15 grand a month and it's going up. Your appreciation is going up. And I look at that as like, that's where I'm at now, right? And I look at you, you're just like 200.
Yeah.
Other people are 1,500. Like where, how do you decide, like when I get to 15, am I gonna want 100? I don't need it,
Yeah.
but why not? Why keep pushing? What is that? What are we
Yeah.
doing?
I love that. I really love that question because I think it's really important. Because really, what you're saying, really, what I think you're saying is who do I compare myself to for success? Like, who do I look to as the model of success? And the culture has taught us that bigger is better. And I'm in a place of my life where I'm like, even that conversation I had with Brandon, that was a turning point for me because I'm like, you're right. To say 1,000 is a vanity number for me at this point. I have no path to 1,000. It's not that I don't believe I could get there, but I'm like, I'm at about 100. And you're sitting here going like 100 feels like crazy to me because I'm talking about getting to 10.
10.
The point is the number doesn't matter. Your definition of success does. And one of the things that you have to be aware of, because I feel like entrepreneurs lose themselves when they define success as what they've seen, not what they love. And so many people, it's the reason why, and a bunch of people like this, people listening have probably even been in this place. It's the reason why we work ourselves into jobs, not build businesses, right? It's the reason why we end up trading our 9 to 5 for 24/7 because we're building what we thought was success instead of building what actually drives, fuels, and we're passionate about. Like you may be happy at 10 doors paid off at 15 grand a month. That is a respectable life. And by the way, in 20 years, that those 10 doors are going to be worth twice as much. The rent's probably going to be 3 times as much. Like, and your kids are not going to ever look at any one of those 10 houses in 20, 30 years and wonder what you paid for them. They're going to think dad was a genius. Look at all this money. Like, look at that. Everybody looks like a genius in 20 years. But for me, like,
Exciting.
the answer to your question for me is there's a part of me that needs and loves the game. Like
Mhm.
I love the game. I love the hustle. I need a problem to solve. I need like so like for me like I could retire now if I wanted to. Like I'd have to restructure a couple of things, but like at the end of the day, like I could sell the construction company. I could, liquidate a little bit of the portfolio and just let it ride. But then what? For me, then what? Like I would literally probably die young because I'd be so freaking bored. And so like for me, it's like the why to 1,000, why to 200, why for me, it's like it's the game. I want to see how far I can go. I want to see how
Mm.
big this can get. But I will tell you this, man, my motivation has changed in the last 4 years majorly because of my kids. Like will not trade my success for my relationships with those kids. I will not build something that I can give them if it means that I can't give them myself in the process. And so even that has slowed me down a little bit. I can't work 60 hours. I have to be home at 5 o'clock. I can't work weekends because if I do, then I'm trading I'm not trading. They're trading dad for what dad's building, and I'm not interested in that either. So like
Mm.
that's my why. Your
Yeah.
why might be different. And I agree with you. Like I tell people starting out all the time, like don't worry about 10 houses, worry about one. If
Yep.
you bought one house this year and stabilized it with a renter, that is in 20 years you'll be a millionaire in pretty much every market with the
Break that down. How's that? How you if you buy one house, you be a million?
so what's the medium home price in Vegas right now? 400?
430, something like that. Yeah. 400. We
430.
say 400 for easy number.
400 for easy math. So I go buy this property for 400,000 bucks. And properties in most markets double in value every decade or so. Vegas is probably a little
Mm.
bit faster than that, right? So in 20 years, that property is going to be worth $1.2 million, dollars, right? $400,000 property doubles twice in 20 years. It's worth $1.2 million. Dollars. Well, in that same period of time, that $400,000 mortgage got paid down to, what's left on it, 100 grand at that point. You have a net cash worth of $1.1 million off one rental property over 20 years. Do that 5 times, do that 10 times. And we're talking about generational life changing wealth. But we overcomplicate this thing. Like
Yeah.
we're always, and to be honest with you, like there's actually somewhat more stability to that model than to what I'm doing because that model doesn't require you to raise as much capital, to leverage as much money, to get in as much debt. Like there's a risk profile to what I'm doing that if the bottom falls out, like I believe that we're hedged and we've built responsibly and we'll be okay, but nobody knows what the future holds. Do you know how much easier it is for me to go bankrupt than it is for you to go bankrupt? Right? Like at the end of the day, there's an element of scale and there's an element of us investing and being aggressive that increases our risk profile. Now, there's other sides of it that people would argue decreases our risk profile, right? Because it's easier to spread expenses across 100 houses than it is across, one or two. But if you're talking about the difference between 10 houses or 100 houses, like you're going to be guaranteed multimillionaire at 10 houses in 20 years. Guaranteed. But you just have to do one at a time. One at a time. One at a time. And I say it all the time. Like, here's the crazy part for especially for new people, this, but for new people that might be listening, you don't even have to get a deal. The thing doesn't even have to be cash flow positive. Now, I hope it is,
You
right?
mean a
I'm not
good deal? It could be a bad deal,
it
is what
could
you're
be a
saying?
bad deal and you will still be a millionaire in 20 years.
Because you can overpay. You can overpay for a house now, but it doesn't matter if you hold on to it.
Time covers a multitude of sins in real estate. And I say this is a great little story. I bought my first deal in November of 2007. It's my first real estate deal. It was a townhome in Mill Creek, Washington. I bought it for $252,000 November 2007. We all know what happened in 2008.
Crash.
The unit next door to mine, identical, sold at auction for $50,000 6 months after I bought my property.
Oh, you must have been like sick. Like, oh no.
So I was 19 years old. and I bought this place and I thought I was working at the bank. I thought I won the lot. I'm like, I am the smartest 19-year-old that ever did live, right? I'm out on my own. I bought my first house. I'm crushing it. 6 months later, I'm like, I made the worst financial decision of my life. I'm ruined. I'm never going to recover from this. All of the advisors in my life told me just to short sell it, foreclose, just let it go back. Let's let it go. And I don't know if it was I don't know if it was just bad pizza or if it was my moral compass, but there was something inside of me that said if I can pay the mortgage, I'm keeping it. And so I kept it. And I sold that property 10 years later to the month for $2,500 more than I paid for it. Took me a decade to break even. And I didn't even really break even because I was underwater in it, all along the
Mm.
way, right? Paying. So eventually turned it into a rental and did some things. But had I held on to it for four more, and by the way, when I sold it, I was like unburdened. Like, I'm like, this is great. And that alone was enough to teach me that like if I can wait, I'll win. But that same property sold 4 years later for double. If I would have waited four
Oh,
more years, I would have made 250 grand. And I'm not sad about it because what it taught me was that if I wait, I win. Even if it looks like I'm losing right now, a decade will fix everything in real estate because of what we started this conversation out about. Money is a glitch. Real estate is an asset class that benefits from that glitch. Inflation is going to continue to be a reality. And as long as inflation exists, my assets go up in value. As long as US dollars are going down in value, real estate is going up in value. Like that is how it works. I don't like it. I wish it was different, but that's the system. And so we have to play the game according to the rules.
so good, dude. Oh man. Well, I want to be respectful of your time, so I'll just I got one more kind of thing to talk about that may be a little controversial that I'm passionate about, man. Maybe you are too, but you're a Christian, right?
Yes, sir.
Been in the ministry, you've pastored, you're a Christian. I don't, you don't have to do all that other stuff. You're a Christian. How you being a Christian and all, how are you making all this money? And they say most Christians think that money's evil, that if you want to be rich, you're this bad Christian. Some of them might even say you're satanic or demonic, or because you want to be this rich, evil, rich person. How dare you? It's easier for a camel to go through a pin of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven. So you're rich, you're gonna go to hell. What do you say to that kind of stuff?
Yeah, man, I love it. Well, first of all, as Christians, we need to get a healthier relationship and understanding with money. Money we have a just culturally as believers we have a bad relationship with money on both sides because there's the prosperity Christians too that will tell you that if you're struggling financially it's because you've got sin in your life and God's not blessing you, which I don't believe
Oh
either.
man,
And so
that's wild.
to me like money is not in money is a tool. And money is attracted, I believe. Money, if money was a person or an entity, it would be attracted to the hands of goodness. I believe that. And for me, it's super simple. I mean, biblically, I can back it up just, theologically. Like I can look at this and I can go, we need to understand that like money isn't the root. Like if people say, oh, money's evil, money's the root of all
Yeah,
evil.
mine's the root
It's
of
not
all
the
evil.
the language there, which you probably know, is not that money is the root of all evil. It's the love of money. It's the word is mammon. It's the worship of money. It's the mammon that prevents a rich man from getting into the kingdom of God. It's mammon that says that a camel's easier to go through the eye of a needle because it's his worship of money over his worship of God that prevents him from being able to access heavenly places. And so, yeah, I believe that. Like, if you've got a love of money problem, like you need to deal with that because money will take people out, but money in and of itself is neither good nor evil. It's the hands that hold it that make it good or evil. I believe that it's attracted to good hands. I believe it's attracted to goodness, but what money does is it reveals what was already there. And so if somebody is evil that is rich, it's not the money that made them that way. It was already there. The money just
Hmm.
exposed what was there. And it's the reason why I say this a little bit with trembling because I want to be accountable to this for my whole life. but I go, I think it's the reason why we've been successful and the reason why I'm unapologetic about it as a Christian, because I know where the money goes. We
Oh,
just, like, and we have nice things. I've got no pride, drive nice cars. We got nice things. I've got a vacation house. Like I've got no issue with any of that stuff. But we also just crossed over 1 million meals that we've provided to the needy in Mexico. We have 1,500 kids
wow.
that are enrolled in school programs that come from cartels that would have never even had access to school had we not had the resources to be able to create programs that touches and changes their lives. So for me, I'm one small example on a microcosm of the power of what's possible when godly people get a hold of money. And I guess I'll close the concept with this. Money is not a spiritual principle. It does not make having a bunch of money does not make me more spiritual or more holy, but neither does poverty. And I think that's where it gets messed up. Like people think that poverty makes them holy, and that's not, there's no biblical evidence of that
Yeah,
whatsoever.
they say what poor be poor as a church mouse, right?
Yeah. And blessed are the poor. And we miss out that it's the poor in
The
spirit.
spirit.
It's the belief that my total dependence on God is what is necessary for my holiness, not my poverty. It's my poverty of spirit. I wake up every morning and I believe that I don't have anything good inside of me apart from a good God. Like nothing no goodness you see in my life. A lot of people celebrate the stuff we've accomplished, and I'm grateful and I'm humble and all those things. But I really want to make it clear that any goodness you see in my life is the result of a kind, merciful, good God who took a 16-year-old kid who should have become a mess with his life and promoted him to a place where he's been able to have resources. And it's because I believe that he trusts us to do good with the resources that he blesses us with. And I don't have all the answers as to why, poverty exists and all these things, but I know that the Bible says that we will always have it, that the poor will always be with us. And so my goal is not to eradicate poverty. My goal is to use the abundance that I've been given to support those who don't.
That's so good. It's so good. Man, just I think that what you said can help some people, some Christians. I mean, the Bible is filled with wealth principles. It's filled with wealthy people. You think Solomon was probably the richest person? Whoever's a millionaire, trillionaires right now had nothing compared to what King Solomon had, who
Yeah.
was very close to God, right? Um, King David, Moses, Abraham. They didn't say the Bible didn't say they were rich. The Bible said they were very rich.
Hmm. Yeah.
So like, this whole because I even in my time, I've even struggled a little bit with like I gotta make sure that I know this money is good. It's not because I did it, right? God is gonna bless me with it. And this is so good. I love talking about
It's
this
all
topic.
faithfulness, man. And you're like, this is so clear about you. Like, your faithfulness makes a way for your abundance. It's he who is faithful with a little who will be a faithful with a lot. Your
Yeah.
willingness to go, I don't need 100 doors. I need 10 to take care of my kids. Like, I'd be shocked if that level of faithfulness isn't met with a level of abundance because it's the goodness in you that God wants to accelerate, right? It's the parable of the talents. It's the like all of these things. And for those people that are like, well, I'm a pastor and I'm called to, or I'm a missionary, and I'm like, that's amazing. I love that. The priests in the Bible, their provision was stick the fork in the fire, and whatever comes out is what they got to keep. Like there is a calling to radical reliance on God, but somebody has to pay for that stuff. And I think it's going to be you, Ron, and I think it's going to be me, and I think that we have to have both.
Yeah.
Somebody has to pay for missionaries. Somebody has to pay for the work of God. Somebody has to fund the kingdom, and it's going to be expensive. If we really want to see, like, if we really believe, I'm on a tangent, but you got me in Pastor Michael mode now all of a sudden. But if we
Let's
really
go.
believe that we're going to see a move of God, like if we want to see a move, that's what I believe. I believe that we can see a move of God where people who the last, the least, the lost, the hurting can encounter the goodness of God. Do you know how do we believe that a God that can move like that is not going to have a cost associated with it that's equally great, who's going to pay for that?
Yeah.
It's going to be us. It's God through us, right? It's the but the Bible says that God is the one. He's the one who holds the cattle on 1,000 hills, right? And I just believe that He's looking for people with willing hearts and open hands to put that resource into, so that we can see the things of God come to fruition. So, welcome to my church service here on the Entrepreneur Podcast. But I love this conversation, man. I wish we had more time to keep it going.
Yeah, man. Well, with that, man, thanks for coming on. How can people find you, bro?
You can follow us on social media, Miller Time Me, or the Dead Presidents Club, Just Dead Presidents on Instagram. You can message us. You can book time with us. I do free consults. Like, I just want to help people win. So yes, we have a coaching program. Yes, we have stuff you can buy, but we have a lot more stuff that you can get for free. So feel free to connect with us any way you like.
Awesome, man. All right. With that, that's the Unstoppable Entrepreneur Podcast. Mike, you killed it.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir.